Hello, once again, welcome to the final episode on National Education Policy 2020, NEP 2020. Once again, thank you so much for all the feedbacks till last 4 episodes. Getting into the subject directly, last 4 days we have seen a little bit of history about National Education Policy, and day 2 we saw a little bit about how NEP impacts at schools, and day 3 also we continued with that. And then yesterday we had a detailed look about how NEP is going to create impact at higher education. Now, one of the points that I missed out yesterday, which I thought should start with today, is how internationalization is going to happen at higher education space. Today, we understand that many students go out for international various countries to pursue their programs, be it UG or at PG levels. Now, how that's going to impact is something which we also need to see. We will start with that, and then, as promised yesterday, we will go to the critical aspect of NEP and then give my final verdict on NEP. To start with the internationalization of education, now how India has been all along has been positioned is very different. Now how India is going to be positioned from now on is very simple. India is going to be positioned as a global study destination, which means India will be looked upon as a country for education from now on. Now all along how it's there, that's not something which is going to matter anymore. From now on, this is what it is going to be. Now, higher performing Indian universities, top performing Indian universities, both public and private, will be allowed to set up campuses outside India. Some countries, the government is planning to give the license to various top performing universities to set up, the campus outside India. Not only that, the other way around is also happening. Select institutes, let's be very, very clear on this. Select institutes from among top 100 in the world will be allowed to set up campuses in India also. Not all. It doesn't mean tomorrow 100 universities are going to come up. No, that's not going to be the case. Select universities will be allowed to set up campuses. Great. Imagine Harvard coming to India, or Wharton coming to Hyderabad, or some of the Monash coming to Chennai. These are some of the exciting things that's going to happen. So again, select universities. So this is precisely about international education, and that's exactly which I missed out yesterday, so I thought I should start with it. And now we'll move on to the how it is going to create, we'll move on to the critical aspects of NEP. Now, a coin has two sides. We have seen one side now. Today, from now on, we will see what are some of the critical aspects of national education policy, and only time will tell whether those are going to, be sorted out. The first critical aspect that I would like to mention here is about the language. Nothing, I'm not getting controversial about Hindi or Tamil, Hindi imposition. No, it's not about that. Now, some of the regional languages that we know have more scripts. For example, Goan is a language. Now, Goan has more than one script. Now, if the government says your medium of instruction has to be in mother tongue, I'm wondering which script the government will choose. Some of the languages, Goan has 2 scripts, which they will choose. It's not mentioned. This is something which I thought I noticed, and I thought I should bring it to the notice. Now, second one, which is very important, is I think this entire policy, if you have seen all my videos and would have read all those stories, it looks highly ambitious. We all know that this is an ambitious project of India. Now, if it comes into place, if it's executed properly, India will become a superpower very soon. There is no doubt about that. India will become the hub of education. Now, to do that, to make it realistic, it requires huge amount of work, not only physically but also financially. Almost 6% of our GDP has to be invested if this policy has to be implemented successfully. Now, currently, it is just 1%. The budget that the government gives towards education is 1% of the GDP. Now, to make it a reality, this has to move from 1% to 6%. It's not that easy. It's very difficult. Will the government afford? I don't know. The policy has been recommended by the committee. Now it is up to the government to increase the budgets from 1% to 6%. Trust me, 1% to 6% is a huge ask. Third, now there's a point that says that in school education particularly, from grade 6 onwards, 6, 7, 8, a student will be exposed to a skill-based training. For example, gardening is a skill-based training, right? Similarly, carpentry is a skill-based training. Now, I had a doubt which I thought I should also put it across here. Imagine if a student chooses gardening and he has to study that as an option in school. Today's schools, we know the infrastructure is not, suited to set up a garden in a school. Now, where will they study? I don't understand. I mean, today's CBSE or any other board prescribes this much of land is good enough to start a school, and I don't think so. That is good to have a garden, to set up a garden and then teach gardening. Similarly, carpentry. Where are the spaces? Where are the places? That's something which government has to, the policy makers have to really come up and then say, you outsource some places with proper security channel, you go there, learn and come back. So that's something that's not mentioned. The fourth point, which I think is very, very critical, it is comprehensively mentioned, but I still think that it needs to be mentioned further elaboratively. It's about upskilling, training of teachers. Now imagine the plight of teachers. Now teachers are in great confusion state after the NEP came into scene, because they don't know whether they are relevant to the system or not. They have been teaching something, I know, I don't want to mention that, but I know some of the subjects that we get to teach in physics, some of those objects are not in existence today. It's gone. For example, a fax machine or a telex, it's not there, but we still teach something in communications about telex and fax. Is that going to help us? No. But whether the teachers are equipped enough to teach artificial intelligence or something which is machine learning or something which is not even in practice today? No. Therefore, training of teachers, skilling of teachers, or we call it as reskilling of teachers, upskilling of teachers, is a mammoth task. It's a mammoth task. That's something which, I mean, only when you do a proper training for educators, this can be a reality. So that's something which the government really has to focus on, or the policy makers has to focus on. And finally, I also need to talk from the perspective of an institution. Imagine the taxation plight of, I'm going to talk about the taxation part. See, in the West, we know universities like Harvard, universities like Stanford, they have a very strong alumni base. And they also have a very strong corpus fund. You won't believe some of the top-notch universities like Harvard or Wharton or MIT have invested in some technology, some companies, have become incubators for some companies. They are the angel investors in many companies, which means they invest in corporate. Because they have funds, they have corpus funds from their alumni, from various sources. The government gives, the alumnus supports, they raise the corpus. Now, will that be possible in India? Imagine a private institute doing that in India without getting caught among the lens of taxmen. I don't know. So, I mean, that is the ground reality, I should say. What happens why Harvard is a great university is because of the corpus funds, it's because of the focus that it does on research, and because of its alumnus strength, right? Now, if imagine a university in India raises corpus funds like that, it is possible. I know some of the universities in India are over 100 years old, which means you will have some illustrious alumni and they will contribute. And imagine if they raise their corpus funds. Next day, what will happen? The taxman will be there in that university. So this is a practical challenge. Now, having said that, these are some of the challenges I thought that, it needs to be worked out. But having said that, my final conclusion on the national education policy, highly ambitious for sure. There is no doubt that this is highly ambitious in paper. And if implemented properly, as I told you earlier, this is going to be a game changer, not only for education sector, but overall from an economy perspective also. The economy will boost when you bring up such measures. There is no doubt. But a big but, it needs to be properly executed and implemented. Now, whether that will be done, there are several challenges that we have just seen, several more challenges that I have not covered from the policy perspective. It is going to be very, very, very difficult, but it is not impossible. With sleuths of measures and funds and whole lot of heart, I think if this policy is executed properly, this will change the face of India. With this, I would like to conclude a comprehensive analysis on national education policy. It's been a pleasure to address you all, talking to you all, and thank you so much for the feedback, and keep watching. We will come up with more such interesting videos in the near future in the same space. Thank you so much once again.